not yours to own. She was born not from a rib, but from fire, wind, water, and stone, with blood that sings ages past, and dreams carved into bone. Yet they dressed her worth in silence, called her beauty then possession, which clipped the flight from her wings, stitched her obedience into lace, made her body just a vessel, a number to bid with a pretty face. But she is not a pasture, nor a field to crop, sow, or reap. She is thunder when she's rising. She is oceans when the women around her weep. No man can claim her shadow. No law can seal her flame. She's sovereign in her heartbeat. She's more than given names. Whore, harlot, worthless slut. Don't make her your burden, the one you swore was your bride. She's not your mark to own. She's not your symbol of pride. She is a fury dressed in wisdom. She is flesh, a soul, a throne. So mark this truth in iron. Let it echo from the deep. A woman is not property. She is hers, hers to keep. This woman is you. This woman is me. Our wounds and scars, we hope you listen and we hope you see. Welcome, everybody.
Wow, that was really good. Did you just write that, honey?
I did before the live. I was emotional and really pondering on a lot of topics that we're going to be talking about today. And not really a
Sorry.
poem, but a statement. Like, I feel like so many women feel these emotions too and cry out in many different ways. But I want to thank you ladies for being here today. And I would love to start our chat here soon. Um, I haven't been live in so long, guys. I'm sorry. I'm actually nervous. I'm sweating. But okay.
So, really quick, Courtney, really quick. You can have up to like 6 people at once. I did put the link for anybody that wanted to join us. It's in the
All
chat.
right.
So, if you want to come up here with us, this is probably going to get
Intense.
intense. That's the right word.
Intense, guys. And we
So,
mean it to be. And I do want to put a little disclaimer. We are going to be talking about some pretty deep things when it comes to the female experience. In no way are we man bashing. We are not saying all men. We are speaking from experience or problematic things that we have observed in our world, our society today that creates pain, imbalance, anger. And that's what today's all about is our righteous and sacred anger and why it is important to feel and process this emotion. It's a very valid emotion, and I feel all of us carry this, especially as women. And that's what we're going to talk about today. First off, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Hello.
We are so glad to have you.
Hold on a second.
I muted.
All right.
Our dog is going
Thank you.
crazy.
Thank you. All right. So I'm going to start it off with a few comments that I observed, and this is just examples of things that we're going to be getting into. So I observed this online. I'm sure you guys do too, from both men and women. But this is for observation and like research purposes. This reel I watched was about the old mechanism that they put on women back in the day, the Scold's bridle or brittle. I'm not sure how you would pronounce that. And it was to silence your woman if she talked too much or if she disobeyed you. She would be paraded through town and shamed wearing this, and it would press on the tongue and it would hurt and be very uncomfortable, and she could not speak. And a lot of men in the town would know why she was wearing it and shame her for it, for the husband. And I'm going to read you some comments from men, and some of them are quite disturbing. Man number 1, are these for sale anywhere? Man number 2, where can I get one? This is a serious question. And there was a lot of those. That comment was repetitive forever. Man number 3, all the men in these comments are terrible and disgusting. So we did get some good ones. Number 4, this report seems to have raised emotions from our fairer emotional sex. This device was discontinued prematurely, meaning every woman that was expressing how upset they were about this being a thing for our great grandmothers were apparently too emotional for that man. Man number 5, they knew the power of words and the power of women, and they worked hard to suppress them. He is absolutely right. Man number 6, make this a law again. Bitches won't shut up. Man number 7, bring them back. Women gossip too much. Man number 8, I know many men who would still want this today. Man number 9, ah, the good old days. Man number 10, see, ladies, you never had it so good. Man number 11, this is disgusting and criminal that this ever happened. Man number 12, lots of angry people here. History will repeat if we keep fighting. Man number 13, well, how much pain did men go through? Look at war. Get over it, women. And then there was another comment, and this was the only one I wrote under this next reel because it was bad enough. This reel was about a woman actually hyping up men of average size, saying that more women, an explanational video about how women like average. And there were a lot of nasty comments in that, but the worst, I think, was man number 1. I never met a woman that wanted over average who wasn't molested by her stepdad. Man number 2, if she's not a virgin, she's worthless. Man number 3, after 25, there's no value left. If she has kids or a single mom, even more worthless. So what did you ladies feel when I read those comments?
Well,
Go ahead, Rodney, or whoever.
well, speaking as someone who was molested by their stepfather, that's offensive, number one. Number two, with the dunking stools that they used to implement for women when they were too loud and proud or talked back. And we need to remember that it wasn't that long ago, a few months ago, that there was a website that was found when it talked about violence against women, and 70,000 men were on there cheering that on. And you and I talked about the incident with the lady in Georgia yesterday, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So,
What about you, Rovneet?
I think it's very derogatory for one gender through which you came. To me, it's like you're in so much pain, you just can't see past it. And you're just propagating it because you just are not ready to see. And I also feel that this is coming from our households. This is very much a reflection of our households, how we treat our women, how we treat our mothers, how we treat our sisters, everything. So my father, I have no shame in saying that. He still sometimes, I remember, if we laugh too much, like as women, like we'll, once we start laughing, it's like, whatever. He'll be like, why are you laughing? He'll feel uncomfortable through that sound because no one in our families laugh. Women are not allowed to laugh. See what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, I can go on and on, but yeah, it's concerning that it still exists.
Honestly, my first reaction is to just laugh because of how friggin' ridiculous it is
Yeah.
that people in this date and time still feel that way. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Exactly like Rodney said. You're talking about your moms, the woman that raised you, taught you your morals and your ethics, and fed you, and wiped you, and kept you clean and safe. You don't think she should have a voice? You're talking about your sisters. Do you want them to be treated that way? You're talking about your daughters. Do you want them to be treated that way? It's disgusting. So it's
Absolutely.
laughable, but it's sometimes it's easier to laugh than cry, right? Because
Right.
it is that's I choose to laugh and find how ridiculous it is, but at the same time, it makes me so angry that I want to cry. You know what I mean? So yeah,
When I
yeah.
first stumbled upon these, and I do frequently online, and I know people project things online that they wouldn't in real life, but that's more concerning to me because that still tells me it's out there no matter what mask you're wearing. You know what I mean? And it makes me very angry. I wanted to lash out at every one of them comments, but I knew it would have been a waste of my time, waste of my energy, and I didn't want to be in that energy. Isn't this just showing how much men are controlling and silencing the narrative, including religious schools? And yes, absolutely. Okay, so I just got out over a 10-year cycle of dating men, someone who has a longtime friend. Yeah. And how many
And there's
women?
more.
Let's go ahead and read a few of them. I want to hear the voices of all of us today. Men are told don't be like women and then learn to hate women because being a man is defined as not what a woman is. Boom. Right there. And it causes pain. It causes imbalance. It causes all of this.
Just really
So
quick, I wanted
sacred.
to say hi to everybody that's coming in too, or that has come in. We're not trying to
Absolutely.
ignore you.
I'm so hyper focused, guys. I'm sorry. I'm
I can't
definitely
get
not.
I can't get my camera to work, so I have just putting that out there. I can't get it to work, so
That's all
Okay.
right. Voice is good too, honey.
okay.
And I'm so grateful for everybody that is here. Thank you. So, sacred rage or righteous anger. What is this? I know a lot of people have been waiting for us to talk about this. And sacred rage, righteous anger, that is that anger we feel that is so valid, but I feel suppressed because it isn't proper societal wise, social wise to communicate this. It's often said, or I believe personally, I feel like women aren't allowed to be angry about certain things, or that's just a common assumption socially. And I think we're angry about quite a lot. And these are the topics that make me very angry. And I'd love everybody else's thoughts on it. So, first, we're going to talk about generational oppression. What we have observed in our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts, great aunts, people around us that passes down in families, things that you feel like, for example, for me in my household, I understood at a very young age watching my mother that I would be catering to my husband and my purpose was to have children and get married, and that was it. This is young me, naive me, who knew nothing of the world yet, but it was have their dinner ready. It was, very have their clothes folded, ready, waiting for them, very catering to the man and not worrying about yourself. I watched my mother lose herself doing this for years. Not that there wasn't love, not that, I'm saying it was a horrible situation, but she lost herself as a woman because she too was told, this is what you do, this is your life. So, what other generational things did you guys maybe observe or that you could think about or bring up for this conversation?
Well, I can tell you personally that I've heard stories that the boys always got to eat first. It was the girls that always helped. Girls that would go out, at least in our family, and other people that I've talked to in their families, girlfriends talking with how things were. The boys always were held up higher than what the girls were, like they were more, and that was definitely a
Mine too.
generational thing. Definitely a generational thing. And my mom's family, I know that she said that it was um, her and her older sister, well, and two of her older sisters that were working and helping my grandma after my grandpa had left with, seven kids. And this was in the uh, 50s, no, probably the early 60s. Imagine leaving a woman with six or seven children in the 60s, and the
My
amount of things that my grandma had to do in order to even go buy groceries and stuff,
yeah.
you know?
I heard stories about my great grandmother. Um, she lived to be over 100, by the way, when my son was born. That was 5 generations living. So she lived quite back in those days, and she was left with a lot of children as well. And she had to do things that people frown upon, shameful things. I'm sure she was ashamed of to survive and take care of her children, because women, it wasn't common for them to really have jobs. It was still very discriminating. They couldn't own their own accounts, things like that. So, yeah,
It was just what, the 70s, 1970s, that women were allowed to have their own credit cards. The
right,
1970s. I was born in 1971.
Well, they couldn't have their own bank accounts either.
Right.
right.
1970s. So it wasn't that long ago. I was alive in the 70s. Many of the women in this chat were alive in the 70s.
Wow.
We're not allowed to make those decisions, like you said, even for their own, whether or not they're going to have to get their tubes tied. It wasn't their choice, it was their husband's choice.
That
It's
happened
still
to
that
my grandma.
it's still that way. You can't get that type of surgery done without your husband's consent. And here, you can't even get your tubes tied unless you've had at least 3 children. They won't allow it. No doctor is
I,
going to do it.
I
yep,
think
I had to
same
have,
thing, but
I had
for
to have
each other.
so many children too before they allowed me to tie them. No birth control really worked for me. I was on birth control with all of my pregnancies. And I had asked the doctor after my second one, not that I regret my other babies, and they refused to because I was young, he said, and I didn't have enough babies.
Well, what's interesting is that the birth control that I was using was actually taken off the shelf because they didn't know or didn't bother to tell women, hey, when you're on antibiotics, it renders this form of birth control ineffective.
Right.
And they ended up taking it off the shelves.
That's true.
So, I do, you guys know, I do a lot of advocacy work. And I was on a women's health live, and a doctor came up and they were talking about the plan B. And if you're basically at least 150 pounds, you take one pill. If you're overweight, over that 150-pound, then you're supposed to take two. There was a woman who was brought into the ER that was assaulted and only given the one pill. Clearly, she was over 150 pounds and was brought back and was pregnant because they didn't give her the right dosage to handle that. And this is a woman that was sexually assaulted.
Wow. Ravni, do you have, before we move on, do you have anything to say about generational oppression? Things passed down that I still feel limit our beliefs or perception of the world. in the female experience.
I see it still happening, at least in my vicinity. Even educated people, people of my age, getting married because their families want them to, or having kids because their in-laws want them to. And like Michelle was saying, those roles of like men just hanging out, having a good time, and women taking care of food, taking care of everything, like is their job. I don't think it's I personally don't believe like this is a role of women, this is a role of men. I feel
Right.
like it is very much a collaboration. So you
Like-
can switch roles. But I think that whole mentality of this role only pertains to women, I think is making us miserable. Like this is why we landed here, I feel like. Because my father won't even pick up his plate, okay? The food he ate. I have never seen him in kitchen, ever. Okay? And he'll eat and he'll just leave it there. And when he came to visit me, he did that to me. I'm like, I'm not your servant. Okay? Go and put, like, same with my brother. Like, I was like, hey, I'm not your mommy. Okay? You got to take care of the dishes, take care of the home, clean up the house. I'm also working, right? So it's like, I think those roles that somehow are passed down even now. I
Yes.
was the one that I was like, I'm not doing it. Like, it works for you, good, but I'm not doing it. Like my mom. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just had a thought when you were talking there. I didn't mean to interrupt, honey. Which when we see and we talk about the rise of like feminine energy too, what I love and I find is like a lot of people in your generation starting to speak out about that more too. More of like a teamwork effort, more of like, do you want a mother or do you want a partner? And I see a rise of that conversation right now going on in our society. I think that was a great point, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, sweetie.
I mean, there's so many things, but also like this notion of women have to smile. Like our pictures need to be all smiley, always. Or my mother wouldn't allow me to smile with like teeth because I had like real bad teeth. I got braces, but like I still remember she was like, "Don't show your teeth." I'm like, it's like
This for a smile, Mom.
every picture I have, my teeth are like,
Thank
ah.
you.
So, but it's like little things like this that we are just taught. You can't sit like this, or like with your open
Cross
feet
your
or whatever,
legs.
like
for-
open legs. Like I feel that these tiny little habits.
What about what were you taught by your mothers too, as far as your safety? I remember my mother also telling me things like you go out at night, wear sweaters, wear things that won't attract the male eye so you don't get attacked. I think it's a little far-fetched to put that on our young women too, as if it's implying something they're doing is asking for this. Though I feel like it was from a good place, it was from a place where they want to protect us, but I still feel like that's something passed down too, and it's still implying all of these messed up things like it's on you, on what you wear. I don't think what you wear has a damn thing to do with it,
Exactly.
Teach
I
the
mean-
young male to become independent. Otherwise, they're not a good partner. Absolutely. I agree.
You got to put some of the blame on with these churches, where the women have to be covered from wrist to ankle,
Or it's
and
their fault.
yeah, or
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
always their fault because
Right.
the
They're
victim
lusty
shaming.
women.
In the
Right.
Mormon religion, they used to say it's better that you die when you're being assaulted than live through an assault. That's the old Mormon way, and a lot of these states are trying to get it to where they lower the marriage age with these, and these churches also advocate marital SA and tell these
Yeah.
women you can't refuse your husband.
I have seen that recently. Now, since you brought that up, I mean, our next topic is societal conditioning for both men and women. So thoughts on that is like the conditions that we see. What are we shamed for doing, not doing? Like men, you're not allowed to cry. You know, don't show emotions. You can't be feminine at all. I know we were talking a little bit about that before the live, and one of you had brought up a really good point about that, that it kind of causes this resentment probably towards women because they're not in their feminine energy because they're told they're not allowed to be. It's wrong. And then women, I remember I wanted to go hunting with my dad when I was little. And one of the first things was, you can't do that. You're a girl. And why not? I threw a big hissy fit and I went hunting with my dad. And after that, he started including me in a lot of things. And I felt so lucky that he did that. Now I feel so lucky that he allowed that. There's so many conditions I feel in society put on the sexes that also cause all this division. What are your thoughts on that, guys? Especially from religion too. And I agree with that. When the cops took and kept my clothes, saying what I wore, which was a pair of blue jeans. I'm so sorry, Summer. And you know what? I was honest about my recent essay on my channel. If you guys seen that video, you go and you go through all of this. It's traumatizing just to turn them in and get the help, like what Summer's talking about, and then have some asshole tell you something like that or question you on what you could have done to cause the behavior. And then on top of that, I find out they still haven't turned in my evidence. And so many women have gone through that, where there are so many cases backed up right now, their evidence can't even be turned in. So
No.
therefore, when his trial comes up, they may walk. How many have to go through that? And that angers me. That outrages me, because you're telling me I went through all of that shit just so he can walk while I'm left wounded with these scars. And Summer,
The
I'm so
shitter about
sorry.
that is, though, I am too, sweetie. The shitter about that is, though, when we become angry, then we're just looked at like we're lunatic, or we must be on our periods, right? Our chemical,
Yeah,
we're having a chemical imbalance. If a man is angry, then he's got the right to be angry,
handling.
right?
Right.
Yeah, whatever.
Or we're told to
Then-
calm down or to shut up.
As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, men would, what do you call it? Admit their wives to
Hysteria.
sanatoriums and all kinds
Hysteria.
of things where they would get yes. And
Mm.
if they were not kept under control, they would give them like a frontal lobotomy or, oh yeah.
And hysterectomies too, that was the cure for mental illness of women, was to just give them a hysterectomy back then.
See, we're going to be getting into the topic of like value and like ownership, possession of our bodies, things like that. I look at Summer's comment, Amber, all these comments, all these women's voices, and I'm just getting really angry.
Well, it's young girls too. You know, these young girls who don't get any justice, and then you got to go through the all of the trauma of
Wow,
the
Amber.
trial and on all of that. You know, we're talking 6, 7, 8 little girls that are having to go through this. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I just wanted to speak about Amber's comment there that she shared with us. Sorry to interrupt,
Go ahead.
because that's profound. I went through something very similar. I do feel like it could be helpful when we need it, getting into scenes like BDSM. There's forms of shadow play and such. What I want to note here, she thought her only worth was being naked in front of a camera. For the longest time, I thought my only worth was felt through sex. How many women, because we were told for so long or made to feel like or believe our only worth was our bodies, because Nothing we've said was worthy. Our anger ain't worthy. Our minds aren't worthy. But if you can grab them by the pussy, or if you can possess them or claim or own their bodies, that's different. And that angers me too, because then that puts us in such a state to where we don't know our worth. We don't know how strong we are. But look at all you've endured, ladies. And you're still here. You're still fighting, and you're still using your voice, sharing your experience with other women, and you're still going. You're not letting it defeat you. That is your worth, your power. The fact that you can talk about these things, be vulnerable, and stand up daily, wake up, get up. You're all beautiful. And I really want to put that out there. I see your beauty every day in the community, all of you, in the comments.
Can I just add that and I did a video on this and I showed the receipts where I was on a panel. We were just having discussions about paganism and such. And a man came up and said that because, and it was it was only women on the panel, that we should be held down and essayed because we weren't Christian. So and when I do that advocacy on that other app, you got to really be mentally strong and have a really thick skin to do that and deal with the abuse that you deal with, which is why I don't do it anymore, because of I needed to put my mental health first. But they're nasty. These men, a lot of these men that come up on these panels are just flat out nasty.
And Debbie, thank you for sharing that with us. You know, my thoughts on this, for one, that's totally not your fault. That shame, that embarrassment, it shouldn't exist. It shouldn't be there. Because again, that is implying that it was your fault. It's really hard to say what I'm feeling listening to your guys' experiences and expressing what I feel like I want to say, if that makes sense. First of all, I appreciate all of your vulnerability, and it takes someone very courageous to tell their story. And I love that. That is one thing about us women that is powerful, strong, and there's a solidarity in that. Not to romanticize what we've been through, but the knowledge, the knowing, the being able to sympathize and know this experience. It's one thing that I do not feel a man can fully feel like another woman can. And while we're on that topic too, we could bring up purity culture and value, in quotations, value. So purity culture just completely disgusts me. I think it has its roots in religion. I'm sorry, sweetheart.
Are we seeing a common thread here?
We are.
I can't see the chat, so I don't have my phone's charging, so
The
I
wild.
apologize.
I don't either.
She says my first time was stolen from me. I
Just
knew
like
a few
Debbie's
girls.
was. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'll add here that growing up in India, women are actually like kind of hidden in a way. I remember like wearing, because I have been out of my house since 2008, so it's been a long time, right? But I still remember in my undergrad in India, I used to wear these loose clothes. I still remember, like, I am this young lady, right? I could not feel comfortable wearing those things because I was catcalled. You know, it's just that. And I will also add that that takes you away from your sexuality. Like you can't own it. It almost like these kind of things, right? We are fed to keep safe. You have to wear loose clothes. Like it's gonna keep you safe. Um, I
You
mean,
know, that's a great point, what you just said. A lot of things hinder us from owning our sexuality. That's also something coming up this week. We have duo topics this week, and our sexuality and owning that is one of them. I feel like purity culture and this whole mentality of value on a woman hinders that. You ever get these videos or reels that pass where it's like these alpha male podcasts? And right now I'm seeing a rise in this mentality. Not every man, but certain men have this mentality that a woman's no longer valuable after 25. Or if she's a single mother, she's worthless. Don't date her. Or, if they're a virgin, that's what you want. She has no bodies. Why? That is a ownership thing, a possession thing. I asked Luke yesterday because he's one of them rare good men, you know. I'm not going to say rare, sorry, but in my experience, it's rare personally for me. I asked him yesterday, what do you think that is? Is that something that men are taught to value more, or do you personally really value that possession, that claim? And he was like, I have no feelings like I've heard other people, and he's heard it too from other guys, he explained. He has no feelings towards that. He feels like it's a learned thing, something imposed on men that you got to claim her. You got to be that one there. You know what I mean? Then she belongs to you. That belonging, that possession, and putting value on our bodies like it's property. Or if she looks like this, it's less valuable. If she has too much this, too little that. What are your guys' thoughts and feelings on purity culture and, value on women claim or ownership on her body?
Go ahead, guys.
Well, if again you go back to the Mormon church and there's no education period, it's
How
not
do you
just
feel? Like,
I,
how do
I
you
feel
feel
it's
personally?
destructive. I feel it's destructive because if you're dealing with purity culture and you're basically told that your body is not yours. So if you're not taught correctly, and then there's a situation where an SA situation where you have no consent, but then you're not taught like we're taught as kids, good touch, bad touch, right? You don't know that it's wrong because you weren't taught correctly. You weren't taught that your
Right.
body belongs to you.
Right.
And that's dangerous. And to not teach you how basic biology works, you know, that okay, you get your period, that's it. You get, they don't teach them how basic biology works. So you can have a whole health problem that you can't identify because you're told your body is shameful and dirty and all of this, and go with medical conditions that get undiagnosed because you don't know that that's a problem.
I want that comment. I want to reply to her.
Which one, honey?
The one you just brought up, I think, was that witchy best friend that said because she never
Yes.
tried to fight back. Was there
Yeah.
guilt? Was she talking about guilt with that? Or I'm asking because my situation recently was very similar. Okay.
She said she didn't
Yeah.
until she was older because she
'Cause
didn't
it's
fight back. Well, did you
right.
not fight back because you were afraid? I mean, there was this study that was done, and I bring this up all the time because it really shows the difference of a woman and a man. Okay. They asked men, what are men most afraid of in women? And they said being laughed at. When they asked what a woman is most afraid of, it's being murdered or being killed. Can you see the vast difference in that?
Yeah.
And the second one would probably be raped,
When
right?
I was exactly. When I was in the hospital getting my kit done, the officer, for one, was trying to be in the room, and the nurse was like, "You need to leave." But he was like, "So you were drinking?" Yeah. But did that give him a fucking right to be on top of me when I woke up?
No, no.
Was that my fault because he was stronger than me? So I just want to say to any women out there that this happened to, just because you didn't fight back, even if it was a situation where they forced themselves on you and you didn't say anything, no, whatever, because you were too afraid, that is not your fault.
You could be
That
in a
is not your
situation.
fault.
You could be in a situation where you just go to a restaurant and they slip something in your drink. How many times have we seen people see that happen and waiters and stuff have stopped it and reported it to the police? You don't necessarily, they could slip stuff in your drink.
Yeah.
So
And
at a restaurant,
every single day at work, I experience every single day at work, and I will wear clothes purposely, not wear makeup to try to deflect. And that just goes to prove doesn't matter what you wear. If they're going to be a creep, they're going to be a creep. And I
yeah,
see it daily.
I,
Yeah,
I,
that's not on us.
I purposely don't like dress up when I go out, but there are some attributes that, I can't de-enhance, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
No,
But
what are you saying? No, I'm just kidding.
no, I can't. I wish I could. I'd love to go and get the surgery done and donate that to someone who has less.
Me
But
too, girl. Me too.
but that's just like the first thing. It doesn't matter what you wear. The first thing, it's like their eyes just go right automatically to the private parts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I said at the beginning, if you weren't here, for the ladies in the comments, I did make not really a poem, but a statement. And it was about, we are not your property. You do not own us. So just always try to keep in mind you're worth being valued for more than your body. Now, if you want to own your sexuality, and that's your choice. That's you. Own your sexuality, but know your value and worth is you. It is so much more.
I can't remember. I can't have trouble pronouncing her name. The lady that's next to me on the bottom, I think she was trying to say something.
Ravneet.
Oh, go ahead,
Rodney?
Did
sweetie.
you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think I want to add another layer here, right? We as women, when my personal experience has been, when we don't get the community and support, sisterhood that we really need to go through the life experiences of growing up, right? We can find male attention as a way to compensate for that, okay?
Mhm.
Not just male, also female, right? Because sexuality is sexuality, right? So that is a very important point here, because I feel like that somehow gives you, I guess, some understanding that there are a lot of things going on here. It's like you need attention at that age, especially during your puberty, right? And I still remember as a child, my family, my father's side used to be like, "Oh, she's dumb," like, because my brain works differently. I did not like schools. It's okay, right? But there was no
Right.
system to handle that, so it was put on me, and I was angry all the time. So I was like, she's always angry. There's something wrong with her. But at that age, I could not understand that, right? It took me a while to understand what was happening. And I was caught in relationships like this where my own cousins would. And you don't understand that as a child brain. You do not understand what is good touch, bad touch. That was not taught to me.
Right.
And when my grandfather actually sexually touched me, you know what my mother told me? She was like, "That's because you take such good care of yourself." I still remember that.
Oh my God.
I was like, she does not remember it. She does not. I remember it. And my father did not say anything because he was like, I'm gonna kill him or something. And that's another
Mhm.
thing. Like they both lost my respect that day. Okay. Because as a parent, you feel like they're concerned for your safety. At that time, you know what I'm saying? Like these things really change you in a
Mhm.
drastic way. You stop trusting people. I have come a long way, but like sexually, just even like friendships, it's just hard, I feel like. Um,
Yes, it is.
and if you don't get the right support, right, to help with the changes you're going through, it's just you will fall trap into these things. And that's not your fault. There's a lot of things going on here. So we did the best we can, I feel like. And um also like look at us, we are so resilient, like you guys were mentioning, right? You know, things happen, but that does not define you. No,
Exactly.
it's
Well,
just
you can let it define you if you want, but or you can
exactly
choose to
be aware.
become a
Right.
warrior of it, you know?
Right. So
Well,
yeah.
Absolutely.
you got to kind of though
Yeah.
put because they feel if they teach you about your own body, your own anatomy, that you're just going to run out and do things and get pregnant. I had a friend at school. Her mother told her if you sit, you're going to get pregnant if you sit on a boy's lap. Well, the bus broke down when they were on a school field trip, and they had to bring the kids back in a van, and she had to sit on a boy's lap. So guess what she thought? Mm-hmm. Because her mother taught her that. So here
Like
she was in that situation and had to sit on a boy's lap because they had to get back to the school because the bus broke down. So she is freaking out because she thinks she's pregnant.
that's another topic. Like sexual education is so important. Like it is not optional. Like my mother never, like nobody told me anything. You know, you have biology class, it doesn't mean anything for child brain because it's like there's no practical knowledge there. And I think that what lady, I don't know their name, but
Oh,
so right.
Lady Blind Wolf. I'm gonna be right back. I gotta go grab my laundry. I'll be back.
So I think that that's another thing, that we need proper education of these very normal things about ourselves. There is nothing abnormal about it. Okay. So yeah, it's just
The ladies, the ladies that are talking about freezing, I so resonate with that. I'm a fighter. Like if somebody, when I was younger, if someone looked at me wrong, I would swing. I was one of them people. I did a lot of work on myself. I've come a long way. But during situations like that with men, and there were several times I had been attacked, and I've even asked Rochelle, I'm like, it's just to me in my own experience, why is this like a repetitive thing? And we talked about red flags, identifying things, things women could do to prevent it. Because me, I think I was so not really naive, but trusting. I'm just, oh, I'm having a good time. I'm going to put my trust, in wherever, not really thinking about my personal safety. But neither here nor
I
there.
mean,
I would
it's shitty
freeze
that
in
we
these
have to.
situations.
that's another thing, right? Like
It's
why do
shitty
we
that we have to, but you do have to.
yeah.
Right. And I would freeze, and I felt so guilty. I think I even cried to you one time. I was like, I freeze and I get so angry with myself because I look at myself as like this warrior. And I always question, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I gouge his fucking eyes out? Why didn't I? And that brings me a lot of like shame. So that's something too that I'm thinking about hearing this from you ladies as well. And I just want to say thank you for sharing, because that it helps me not feel alone in that. And I just appreciate that.
I think the cold hard truth is, though, that we have learned, not just from this life, not just from things that we've
Right.
seen, but from previous lives as well, that sometimes in our gut, we know that if we fight, it's going to get a whole
We'll get
lot
hurt.
worse. Exactly. And possibly even worse than that. Okay. Because Is it a big stretch that women are assaulted all the time? No. I mean, look at how many people are in here right now and how many of you have been assaulted. Pretty much everyone, right? Yeah, that's not a
Yeah. Every
coincidence.
lady I've met has a story.
And that's another thing. I remember,
It's sad
like,
every woman I've met has a story.
yeah, it's so weird at the same time alarming, right? Because 2 years ago, I was just sitting with my mother's friends and we were just talking, and she has a daughter. She's in her teens, right? And I was talking about it, like, do you talk to her about sex education, like normal stuff, like, you know what she's, and like things like, we, so many of us are sexually assaulted. She was like, yeah, I was assaulted, so what? Like, women don't even understand like the consequences of that. They're just so used to it. They're just so used to keeping silent and being like, we are so strong. I'm like, don't be a martyr, okay? Look at you. You're not thriving. You're just compensating here. That's the consequence, right? Right. Of not.
So what chatting about all of this, ladies in the comments, what are you feeling right now? Personally. What are
Just
you
really quick,
feeling
I
in your
also wanted
heart
to
right
say
now?
that
Because okay.
I just wanted to let everyone know that Casual Crypt was banned and all their comments have been removed because they were trolling. So, see ya, Casual Crypt. Good luck with that. Exactly. Finish. I'm sorry, sweet. And you guys, we are definitely experiencing lag between us. So it seems like we're
Yeah.
interrupting, but it's because there is major lag going on between all of ours. So I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, guys. I just wanted to know what these topics are making everybody feel emotionally. Right now, I feel enraged. I feel a little sad, but also empowered at the same time. And I get that from everybody sharing their story, the empowerment, the ability to reach out to the woman near us and share that, you know.
Well,
That is so true.
we're
That's
not
why there's shame involved
we're not
because they don't teach you that it is gonna feel good and that your body is gonna betray you if certain things happen to you, especially when it is somebody when you are. I don't even know how well this is gonna go over on YouTube clearly because the subject matter.
I'm not going to
Okay, but
monetize it.
well, yeah, this is for adults only, but I mean, it shouldn't be because under adults, this happens to them all the time. Okay. But I
Absolutely.
mean, even in my mom's story, which I'm not going to say it's not my place, but when it is somebody that you love and look up to, and they are telling you these things as they are touching you in that way, and it feels good,
Yeah.
of course, then when somebody tells you that was wrong, there's so much shame involved in that. That's why also a lot of them don't ever speak up. They don't say what really happened because they think that it's their fault. Well, if it felt good, then it was just as much my fault as it was theirs. But it wasn't. So,
And then when you
yeah.
go and you try to get justice for it, then the lawyer, the defense lawyer, throws that up in your face. And we're having a whole deal because of our education here, and they are doing the sex ed, and they're wanting to remove the word consent from vocabulary when it comes to sex ed here. And our kits, our essay kits are the backlog goes back 2 to 3 years, and they also cut funding for victims advocacy. So victims can't get the help that they need because they've cut the funding in my state.
So this week, I do want to note one of the exercises I did put in. I want us after this live going into this week, because we're getting close to an hour, guys. I want us to focus on these things, our world problems, our personal problems that we are angry about. Sit with that for a minute. Be angry. Toward the end of the week, we're going to, if you want, devise a rage ritual. Did anyone see that video of that retreat with the spiritual healer lady? She had a lot of ladies out there, and yeah, it's laughable. A lot of people laugh when they look at it, but if you really observe, she had all of these ladies out there. They were screaming at the top of their lungs. They were taking branches, beating the ground. They were just releasing all of this rage that they have together. There's something beautiful in that. This week, I'd like us to maybe identify, just bring that awareness up. What are we angry about? Why do we have this anger? At the end of the week, where can I direct it for my benefit, for our empowerment? And also, we're going to be getting into more about owning our sexuality. Truly, between the dark and light of the divine feminine, there is no separation. We perceive that separation, but there is none. She's neither. It's a neutral thing, energy. So we're going to embrace the darker halves of that. Her wrath. Look at Kali, the embodiment of that feminine rage, that wrath. By the way, that's who I'm working with for the 13 keys this month. I haven't done a video, but I will be. But we're going to own our sexuality too. There's so much shame and guilt and labels and oppression, suppression. There's so much to female sexuality that is imbalanced, and we need to claim and own that to be okay with ourselves and love ourselves. We're allowed to desire too. I know we're told often we can't, the men can, we can't, but that's wrong. And we'll be getting into all of that this week. I'm really excited. We're just going to nurture that darkness all around, that energy. And does anyone else have anything they want to say or share before we do wrap it up? And everybody in the comments, I thank you so much. You're beautiful. I really appreciate you sharing your story and being here. Ravneet, Rochelle, Lady Blind Wolf, thank you so, so much. This is so important to me, and all of you have really made this amazing with me. I appreciate it, and thank you guys for being vulnerable and sharing all of that with us.
I did want to say that, Courtney, before I'm muted. I'm used to muting really fast because of dogs, okay?
I can see that.
Mine have been really good. I better knock on wood after saying that. I did want to say, before Revneet came in and you and I were talking, and you had said like how do you get over like the rage and stuff like that? And for me, I don't think I'm ever going to get over it, if I'm being honest with you, because the society that we live in, unless that changes drastically, I'm always going to feel this friggin' anger being a woman and living in this society.
Yeah.
I think
But
that was kind of the importance of the witch's black lent that we were doing, and anger was one of the sins. The wrath was one of the sins that I chose, and I took that and used and transmuted it into basically fixing the other sins. Anger being my best motivator to do what I needed to do. I mean, when I get mad, I'll find constructive things to do, and it gives me that energy to get things accomplished.
That's a good point. I was going to bring that up too. I'm glad you had said something to that effect, because I did want to say, with sacred and righteous anger, it is a motivator. It's not something that consumes you. It's not a anger that consumes and hinders you. but it's a motivator. And that's kind of the energy I'm going for this week. So
Sorry about Louie. The kids came home from work,
It
and I wasn't fast
happens.
enough.
but all right, guys, we have hit an hour. I love you all and thank you so much for being here. I feel like we all have so much to say and there's just not enough time. But thank you. And
Thank you,
we'll see
guys.
you soon.